Welcome to Your Place on the River, a podcast brought to you by Carriage Key of Woodstock, Georgia, in partnership with Chattahoochee Nature Center. Our mission is to connect people with nature. As a private nonprofit 501c3 organization, CNC thrives thanks to support of our members, the community, and listeners like you. Discover more about Chattahoochee Nature Center at chatnaturecenter.org. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the podcast. Tweet us at CNC Nature using the hashtag YPOTR. And here's your host, Melissa Carter.
The Chattahoochee Nature Center believes in community. I think we've highlighted that over the course of the podcast. But they practice what they preach because they have what's called the Unity Garden. And the Unity Garden produces 8 to 10 tons of fresh produce each year for donations to those in need. Coles McLaulin is the Unity Garden coordinator and talks about what exactly is in the garden and the effort it takes in order to harvest it for the community. And not to brag, but I thought Coles needed to know a little bit of my gardening background. By the way, my tongue is firmly pressed into my cheek. So my father was someone who grew up on a tobacco farm. He worked for Farm Bureau the majority of his career doing services for farmers. And he had an incredible green thumb. And he had a garden almost as big as yours. And I hated it. Because when you're little, you have to be the one to go and pick the garden, right? But now that he's no longer with us, and I've come up here, up on top of the hill to look at this garden, it reminds me of him and how much I miss that garden as an adult. I'd be happy to pick that garden now, right?
Of course.
So let's talk a little bit about the magic of this garden, how big it is, what you have in it, and then we'll talk about who it feeds.
Okay. This is the Unity Garden, and I'm the coordinator. I've been here for almost 4 years. The garden is a 1/4 acre, started in 2010.
What's in it?
Oh, my gosh. Well, this time of year, we're in a transition. The date is it's April 29th.
Can you believe it?
I know.
Yeah.
It goes so fast. So we're harvesting kale, collards, cauliflower, radishes, beets, lots of lettuce. What really won today was the Napa cabbage at 55.62 pounds.
Wow.
So we had 165 pounds today.
See, someone like you and someone like my dad, I am so I admire you so much because not only, do you have all this in here, but they probably require different nutrients. They probably require different care.
Yes.
Within the garden of each one. And then, like you said, that's the spring harvest.
Right.
And then there's harvest throughout the year.
Right. So right now we're planting tomatoes, peppers, okra, eggplant, bush beans. We actually planted some more kale today and lettuce because they like it cool, but I have a part of the garden that doesn't get as much sun. Mm-hmm. So in the winter it doesn't get any vegetables. We just do cover crops. But now that it's getting hot out, we transition those cool weather crops into there. And I'll usually be able to stretch that into late June.
Right. Well, the only reason I keep bringing up my father's because I feel like if I channel through him, then I'll seem like I know what I'm talking about because I did not inherit his green thumb.
Yeah.
I've literally killed a cactus before.
Well, you probably skipped a generation.
Yes.
Because I gardened with my grandmother.
Okay.
And yes, in the summertime, we would be in Myrtle Beach and she had a house in Georgetown and we go into the middle of the country on the hot summer days, and everybody dreaded it but me. I remember my sisters will talk about, oh, God, I hated shelling all those butter beans. And I'm like, I don't remember that at all, or the cucumbers. We would actually set up little farm stands and make money. And so, yes, it definitely skipped a generation because my mother does not know what she's doing.
Okay, good. I hope my son is a good gardener because I don't know. And I keep trying.
Yeah.
I keep trying. And that's why I think that it's so impressive to see this. But it's, for me, I remember with my father's garden, it was we had to go pick, and then my mother would sometimes get frustrated because she'd be like, what are we going to do with all this food?
Right.
So let's explain the spring harvest. We'll go through each season.
Okay.
But the spring harvest, how much food is produced in this garden in spring? And you don't have to give it exact. I'm not going to measure it.
This year we're close to, I would say probably about 2,500 pounds.
Okay.
Probably a little higher than that because, of course, that season starts in September. Mm-hmm. But certain things kind of phase out, like red lettuces can take more cold, green can take more hot.
Okay.
We recently decided to plant some mustard. I was trained by Henning von Schmeling that used to be here for 37 years. And there's all kinds of things he said, you must do. So like collards and kale. Well, we have about a 25 square foot thing of mustard as opposed to maybe hundreds of square feet of collards and kale. Yeah. And that little plot of mustard has produced more
wow.
than everybody else. And another really great plant for this time of year is bok choy.
Yeah.
Or pak choy. It's a really intermittent thing. And I discovered
Am I saying it wrong? Because I love eating bok choy.
Technically, pak choy has a white ribbing up the center, and the bok choy has it. But if you look at the grocery store, they never say pak choy. Everybody uses the term bok choy.
So the pak choy has, you said, the white ribbon.
The white ribbing, and the other one's supposed to be green. But I've never seen one in the store that had a green.
I've only seen the white.
Maybe an Asian, maybe a specialty market might have it.
Well, thanks to you, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to say, here's some pak choy.
Yeah.
and so do you realize you're doing this wrong?
Yeah, and last year I
take a marker
discovered how
and put it on the
fast it
thing.
could grow because I made some decisions in the garden, and I usually say we, but I'm going to say I because I'm the one who decided that we were going to do a couple things differently in order to increase our harvest. Well, one of those things was to plant the squash late so that we would avoid its main predator, which is squash vine borer. Because I found out later that they actually come in twice a season. So either way, they were going to hit it.
Didn't matter.
So the only thing you can do to prevent that is rotate and just keep planting.
I didn't think about the predators because I remember my dad had, we didn't have scarecrows or anything, but he would put aluminum plates on a pole to make that noise, but I never studied what ate what and what was robbing him of his garden.
Well, and when you say squash, most people think of like zucchini.
Yeah.
But you got butternut and watermelon and cucumbers. They're all considered squashes.
Yeah.
Zucchini, yellow. So that's how I discovered pak choy, that I could turn it around in 45 days from seed to harvest. And I was really wanted to get our yield up.
Yeah.
It's not just about that, but it's important for feeding people. And found out that, oh my gosh, we have probably done 600 pounds of it this year of just pak choy.
What?
And then, of course, I go to the food pantry.
Is this after
and
your 45-day turnaround?
That's how fast it grows. So I called the manager at the food pantry and said, does everybody like this pak choy? Because I'm sending a lot of it, and I don't want to grow something that's not, oh my gosh, the first thing that goes out the door. Everybody loves it. There's a large Hmong community, and that's one of their regular foods.
Interesting. Well, I found that I enjoy it better than lettuce or, I shouldn't just say lettuce, right? I should say iceberg lettuce. I like
we don't grow any
choy.
Iceberg.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to get to the other seasons because that's just for my education and hopefully for listeners who are not as, because as a Southerner, everybody thinks they're a gardener. I have admitted to you I am not, but most people try. But you talk about the food harvest. So let's explain where the Unity Garden, where the food goes to.
So all the produce goes to North Fulton Community Charities Food Pantry. And a lot of people don't know the difference between a food bank and a food pantry. So food banks are like the warehousing, and they feed into food pantries. And food pantries are the ones who directly connect with the customer.
Okay.
And a lot of people talk about feeding children, and I believe that's really true, but there's a large community of elderly people in our society that are not being taken care of and desperately need food too, especially healthy food.
Isn't that sad?
It's very, very sad.
The fact that
not to have the support I have a big family support system.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is I have never felt that people should feel pressure to have children. But if you don't, then you're going to have to find a way to you're going to have to find other resources when you grow old. Right. Mm-hmm. And so with just again, I would love to know when you transfer. So you harvest the food. How do you transfer the soil to start planting other things for, let's say, summer and fall? And how many seasons are there?
Well, we really plan for 2, and then there's certain things that will go all year round.
Okay, all right. So some
for instance,
you don't even
carrots,
have to.
radishes, turnips, beets. Those will pretty much go all year.
You're so sweet because you're looking at me like I'm crazy because I truly am that ignorant to gardening. But
I like to. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
That's true.
So I have people repeating things. I'm much rather answer the same question 100 times because once something happens, I can't put it back.
Right.
You know, what if somebody decided to go go harvest the blueberries, and they just walked over there and cut the blueberry bush down that's been growing for 10 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, and like you said, there's some things like, and that probably helps the fact that you don't have to repurpose a lot of this garden if some of the crops stay good throughout the year.
Oh, the goal is to harvest it all. None of it stays permanently. All like the tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, okra, that will all eventually succumb to the frost.
Right.
Or bugs. Or some other
or something.
predator.
Again, everybody. Well, and we're at the Chattahoochee Nature Center, so I'm sure there's all kinds of animals that are like, oh, look at there. Like there's probably more concentration of things.
I'm
here.
surprised that I don't see more hawks around this garden. They tend to hunt at dawn and dusk, so we're not really here at that time.
Right.
But on my second day at work, was driving up, and I'm like, is that a squirrel in a hawk's mouth?
Lunch, breakfast.
Come in and work. A couple hours later, driving down the hill to go get lunch, and this thing just splat falls right in the middle of the road, and it's like, okay, that was what
So
I
the
thought
hawk
it was.
answered your question.
Yes, it did, and it probably just left it in the tree and it fell. And it was just the timing of it was incredible. Right. So of course I got out of my car and moved it because we have a lot of children on this property,
right?
And they definitely need to know the circle of life, but they don't need to learn it that way.
We have talked about that several times on this podcast, where there's some things age appropriate nature lessons, right? And the carcass of a squirrel dropping from the sky is probably not.
But that was the beginning of me becoming very comfortable with. For instance, I've always been afraid of snakes, but it's really just ignorance.
Right. Yeah, my mother was terrified, and I am not a fan, but that's because of who taught me about them, right? And so with my son, it's more of I try to just tell him, snakes are animals too, and they're only going to attack if you come across their home, and they're not, they don't care about you, and so I'm trying to talk myself off the cliff as much as I'm trying to educate him.
Well, like I
about
said,
snakes.
you can get used to anything if you're exposed to it enough.
Well, and that's the beauty of nature, right? And I've talked before, and what do you feel about how humans tend to separate themselves from nature? It seems like our lives have gotten so comfortable, and for some people, they never go outside. They hardly ever.
I heard a sad story that they were having kids draw a worm in one of the classes, and the kid didn't know what color a worm was. And that's really sad. But for people who don't want to go out in nature, I would never want to say to them, you have no idea when you step out that door how many bugs and things are all over. If you had a mic, they would never leave their house.
Right. And on your body too.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. They're everywhere
because we're part of nature.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I do also want to qualify for those who, like the kids who have the opportunity to do, because a lot of urban kids, and that's some of the kids that come here, right? Or some that have never been exposed to nature, even though it may be a mile or two down the road, they've never been able to have access to that area, so they're able to come here.
Yes, and we have a really neat program here with the Roswell DA's office where at-risk teens are identified. I don't know if it's by their teachers or their parents, or I'm not sure how. I don't get into that because that doesn't matter to me. But having them come out here was really eye-opening. Yeah. And we even tried to shock them a little on things that have happened to us in life. Yeah. And look where we still landed. Yeah. I had a coworker that had a teenage pregnancy, which is certainly.
Right. It happens.
It happens.
It's okay.
It happens, and now she has a grown daughter, but I just remember their kids' eyes going, whoo.
Right.
And I talked to them usually that 13 years ago, I had a heart attack. And I used to sit behind a desk, making lots of money, had a nice house in Boulder, Colorado, and that stopped me in my tracks. Yeah. I was luckily that I was okay. Yeah. And I went on to go into my hobby, gardening, and lost 40 pounds. So
let's talk about your grandmother, because again, your connection with your grandmother influenced your love of nature and love of gardening, which eventually saved your life, basically. And
big time.
And that's kind of like when we talk about with these kids, and even I have had doctors who have now prescribed me nature walks if especially it was during COVID, and they were like, if you're stressed out and feeling isolated, then go out into nature. So it's a medicine for a lot of people. So when you do this Unity Garden, is there anything that you're doing with some of these plants that is directly from your grandmother's advice or how she did things in the garden?
I don't remember learning any of that. I just
was just
remember
part-
eating. I just remember eating, and having a lot of it or selling
So
it.
it's so instinctual for you.
But
to,
I wanted to grow, for instance, butter beans, which
Yeah.
are, to me, they're baby limas. So went and bought about a pound of these beans, seeds, and we grew a ton of it. But we didn't get any harvest, really. It was just nothing. But I'm determined to try again because I wanted... I want these other people to have these little baby butter beans,
Yeah.
And I even asked my aunts, like, what type of seeds? I knew my mother wouldn't know, but
Right. Again, that's
my aunts.
That's what my son's going to say about me. Melissa don't know.
Yeah, don't ask her. And they said, oh, no, they were definitely the Ford Hook kind. And I'm like, well, that's what I bought.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Any other crop?
Well,
that's
she
been-
always used, coffee grinds
Yeah.
and, this is, we're talking about Depression type days.
Yeah.
They had the neighbors come over and everybody just slapped the house up. So, yeah, I remember lots of natural things, but I also remember like the dust thing that they would, basically they're pesticides, chemicals, and we don't do that.
Yeah. How do you treat the crops? Like you said, you don't use pesticides any natural way or anything that maybe somebody with a garden, even, a small garden can transfer and not use those chemicals?
So there's something called Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, and I've just been training myself on it over time. And you're trying to determine at what point you will treat something happening. And of course, there's a different treatment for everything.
Yeah.
But it's also recognizing what the bugs are and what their predators are. So, for instance, the okra, last year I had aphids on it, but I also noticed black ants going up and down, up and down. As a matter of fact, I already noticed it on one of them today. And I'm like, there's ants, then there must be aphids. So I look under the leaves, and there are the aphids. And then in the green, so there's also another predator for aphids, and it's called a parasitic wasp, and it's so tiny, but it does fly, and aphids do not. Although somebody tried to challenge me that last week, so maybe I should look that up. But I've never seen flying aphid.
Yeah, challenge us. Contact the podcast
yes,
and challenge us.
Yeah.
No, I'm just teasing.
So anyway, I didn't have to treat it because nature was taking care of it.
I was going to say the ants were helping you out there. Right.
So another predator that we have is, just noticed, voles. And the reason I knew they were voles is because I spent an hour and a half after work looking up what's the difference between moles and voles. And I know they're voles because voles with a V are vegetarians.
Interesting.
So you would look at a bunch of lettuces together, and there would just be one that was dead. And you're like, everything else is the same. What's different? And you lift it up, and there's a hole underneath where the vole has come up and eaten it. Now, I was told that these sonic sounding things, and you might hear them, don't work for them. But by the time I figured that out, one of my volunteers had already bought 8 of them, and I didn't want to say. I was told
I've seen those
work.
for in the house, too.
Yeah, they're little square things going there, solar powered. I've not seen a vole issue since then.
Right.
We had rabbits in the garden, which, it was little baby rabbits. And, I can't bring myself to do anything with him. There was volunteers in the garden, and we were all petting it and carrying it around.
There's children on the property, right?
There were no kids at the time. I would not have, if it was a kid, no, I don't think we would.
No, I'm just kidding.
But they're not supposed to interact with the wildlife that's here.
Right.
But sometimes they do. I had a very large rat snake. It's still
I bet
in
you
this
loved
garden.
that.
Well, the first time I saw it, I yelled some expletives and started spinning around and going, wildlife, help me. And they said, oh, Coles, it's just a rat snake. It was in the coop, all curled up with one egg in its mouth, another egg in its body. It says it only eats one a week. I'm like, it's got 2 of them right now. And they're like, yeah, but it's a great predator. It will eat squirrels and rabbits and chipmunks.
we
need
need Mr.
this
Snake.
thing. So I had an environmental group here one day from a high school group, and the rats. We have a bunch of cloth covers, and that's another thing I'll talk about is cloth covers. And I reach in to pull one out, and there's something. I'm like, that does not look normal, and I'm like, that's the rat snake.
That sounds like a horror
so
movie.
I come out to, and the thing is as big as my wrist. It's a really big one, and they climb up walls and buildings and stuff. So I said, does anybody like snakes? And this one girl, Izzy. Oh, I took a video of this. She said, I love snakes. And I went and showed
Thank
her,
goodness.
and she pulled this thing out, and I've got video of it, and she's just so pleased with herself.
I think we need the Izzy's of the world.
Oh,
Because yes, I'm Izzy's opposite. I'm the balance of life for Izzy, for sure.
Well, I was that. I still haven't touched them.
Well, but it goes back to what
That's
you
not
said.
true. I did touch one in one of the naturalists the other day. Because at least I'm gotten to the point where I
See?
can actually touch it and hold it.
We're not going to give in. So that's the thing is it was just the fact that my mother was afraid of them. I adopted her opinion. And I need to change that opinion. And that's, one of the things that's the beauty of being out in nature is that the more you're there, the more you feel it. And look, I haven't touched a snake yet, but.
Yeah, I actually touched a snake. And then yesterday I saw king snakes around here and rat snakes. I don't know why they were out in abundance, but.
And you weren't saying the expletives.
No,
that you had
at
said
this
before.
point I'm past that. Now I'm just like, cool. What kind of snake are you? And of
See?
course it's a distance thing. I don't
Right. That's
I
all
don't
right.
crowd them. I don't get close to them.
It's about evolution, your own personal evolution. Now, you talk about covers.
Yes, so we use row covers a lot. There was another reason. We plant a new plant, it's a cute little delicate, yummy thing that we've grown from seed. So there's a lot of love gone into that thing already. And after we leave, they come out, the critters come out, the rabbits or squirrels, and say, yummy, look at that. And they nibble on it. They don't eat the whole thing, but there's my damage. So lots of people use row covers for either heat or cold to protect the plant, but I'm also using them to prevent critters from getting into them, which is another thing you can do with the squashes, is cover them until you have a male and a female squash flower. And most people are like, what?
Right.
And once it's explained to you, you're like, yeah, I can see why that's male. It pokes out, female doesn't poke out. So
Nature's consistent. So, I was just thinking about other tips for gardeners because again, I have admitted my faults, but there's a lot of people who want to replicate some of this and maybe even, maybe be inspired by the Unity Garden and it helping people who are nutrition deficient to be able to get food. So what are, if you had the top 3 tips for gardening because obviously you were born to be a gardener throughout your life or even while working here at the Unity Garden, what are your 3 top gardening tips? I should write them down.
You are going to fail.
Okay.
Get used to it and just figure out, failing is an opportunity to learn something. Now, if you do it 3 times, then maybe you're not so smart, But I'll at least keep trying something. So I would say that's the number 1 thing. Number 2 thing is moisture. People just look at something, it looks like it's wilting and must need water. Well, in the heat, all things are going to curl into themselves, like a hydrangea will do. And hydrate, what does that mean? Water, hydra.
Yeah.
So the lettuce, the bok choys, all of those sort of curl into themselves, but then the next day they're fine. They pop back up. So if you're concerned about water, what I do, and there's lots of ways you can do this, is just dig into the soil and make a handful of it. And if it clumps, then it's got moisture. If it breaks apart really easily, then it needs water. Mm-hmm. And the third thing is that the roots need the water, not the top
The leaves
of the
and
plant.
yeah, right.
So, when I spray something on the top, it's probably because it's got pollen all over it, or mud, or something like that.
So people
or fertilizer.
They're dumping all the water on the top when they need to
right. They need to be watering at the base.
Mm-hmm. Because I could see if it's a flush, a big enough plant that it might keep the water from going into.
Well, I even see people here this is their living, that don't seem to get that.
We won't name names, will we?
No. But, I've just worked in a lot of different capacities. It was always my hobby. Mm-hmm. I can look at something from far off and go, what is going on with you? I don't know why or how. Even my sister's like, how do you know all this stuff?
We've
And I'm
already
like,
established
this is my living,
Yeah.
This is important. So...
But you're good at it, So 2 more questions. 1, how did you get from Colorado and recovering from a heart attack to the Chattahoochee Nature Center? That's the first question. I'll ask the next one again, but it will be, how do you encourage people to come and check out the Unity Garden? So first, let's talk about your journey to the Nature Center.
So I actually graduated from Walton High, first graduating class of 79. Mm-hmm. And then I went to 4 colleges. And then I moved to Fort Lauderdale with FedEx and sales and got married. And he wanted to go to the mountains and I wanted to go to Australia. We ended up going to Boulder, Colorado.
Which is like the Australia of America.
No, we couldn't both get work visas, so apparently he wanted me to work too, but that's okay. So I started working in a greenhouse there. I was like, we were both done with corporate. We were only 30 years old, but we were already sick of it.
Right.
But after a year, I realized I like making money. Coming full circle 24 years later, after having the heart attack and my children, making money, having a very expensive house, went back to my hobby because of the heart attack.
Yeah.
And at that point, I did all kinds. I mean, I worked in greenhouses. I worked in doing landscaping. I went back to that same nursery greenhouse that I worked at when I first got to Colorado.
Yeah.
And I left there, sold my house. And I don't know if you know the market there, but 24 hours. It's crazy. And my sister and I moved in with our mother, who will be 90 in September, and would not leave the house. So we were trying to get her to move in with her sisters. But so I went to work at Pike. And
you didn't ask her advice for any of these jobs that you're doing. I'm just saying, no offense to your mom.
No.
Bless her heart.
She just wants me to work. So I went from the retail side to the growing side at Pike. Had some discontent, and my boss had some discontent, and so she applied for a job here, and her name was actually Jackie. Jackie, I hope you're listening. And my boss is Jacqueline, and Jackie did not take the job and told me about it.
Aww.
And so I interviewed for it, and then I got the nicest rejection letter you could ever imagine. And I'm like, what is going on with this? Well, it turned out that she knew that this Unity Garden position was coming open, but she couldn't tell me that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that I could run, and I think all that sales and customer service for years helps me to manage this many people and be a good listener. I mean, I have 2 ears, 1 mouth.
I try to tell my son that. I should tell myself that sometimes, see if it works better, but, not always. You got to come to the Chattahoochee Nature Center and see this Unity Garden. As we sit beside it, I mean, talk to listeners about the pride you take in it, maybe, I don't know, just have them come, and then what will they experience when they come take a look at it?
I think the biggest thing you'll notice when you come into the Unity Garden is, it's quite beautiful, and that's part of the plan, is to put things matching in certain ways so that they are aesthetically pleasing and obviously taste good too. The volunteers are wonderful. Wonderful. I'm talking about my weekly people that come on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Now, off air, before we got to talking, that's a very Southern thing, you had mentioned how many hours volunteers have worked on this. Do you mind sharing
last year, I don't know what the exact number is now, but I probably will by Saturday at the big event we have, 3,760 hours of volunteers in 3-hour increments. So that doesn't even work out. So some people will do 5 or, some people arrive at 7, some people arrive at 9:30 and leave at 11. It's whatever I can get in here. I'm pretty loose about when people can come. And I've had people come to me, I came to the garden, but then stuff happened and I didn't come back. I said, I don't do guilt trips.
Yeah.
If you want to come. And getting in the dirt and seeing what happens, and we just laugh and have a good time. And it's like, well, look at this, what's happening. Look at this that's happening. And when we pull up to the food pantry, I take it about once a month. The volunteers will run out and go, and you can hear them go, the Unity Garden is here, the Unity Garden is here, And I just hope they don't eat any of it. Actually, I know for a fact that some of them have.
I mean, it's tempting not to take
The hardest job in this garden as a volunteer is to stand for 2 hours picking ripe blueberries and not eat one.
Right.
When you say that is the hardest job out here. So,
but then you realize who you're helping.
Yes, and then later when I say we had 36 pounds of blueberries last year, I mean, that's not a significant count going on to 9,000 or 10,000 pounds, but boy, does it taste good while it's coming in.
Yeah. I mean,
and the vitamin content of a brand new blueberry, I don't know. And I do think we have really good mojo here. So that means that we must be doing something right, because we'll have
it wouldn't
people
grow if you didn't.
No, people wouldn't. We'll schedule people, and our volunteer coordinator will try to say, anticipate rain 4 days away. And I'm like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And they'll come out here and we'll get 3 hours done, and they'll be leaving and it'll start raining. And we'll let go.
Yeah.
So all I can say is it's divine intervention.
Well, and also the energy of the plant. I mean, I can't garden very well, but I certainly know that plants are living just like humans, and it's thriving because of not only the soil, but the people that are tending to these plants.
Yes.
And you should take great pride in that. So as we conclude our conversation, because I know you're a busy lady, what would you want someone to take away from coming to see this? Hopefully more than once.
Friendships. I've grown quite fond. I could start crying because I love these women so much. And it's mainly women.
Yeah.
And they're healthy. You know, they're in their 70s and 80s. And then when you get the corporate people out here doing the really heavy lifting, I'd say 95% of the time they're absolutely thrilled to be out here. And if I do get that few that I know don't want to be here, I will draw them in and they will leave happy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, just as we were about to talk, I was visiting with someone who was a visitor here from corporate, a corporate environment, and he said, I sit behind a computer all day, and he just is thrilled to be out here.
Well, a lot of people don't, because of the nature of business now since COVID, a lot of people don't ever see each other.
Right, right.
You know, they are just interacting on the phone or via email or Zoom call or whatever, so they don't really know each other.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And congratulations on a beautiful garden.
Thank
my
you.
dad says congratulations, too. And he's sorry for his
and
daughter.
my grandmother, too. Thanks, Mary James. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Your Place on the River, brought to you by Carriage Kia of Woodstock, Georgia, in partnership with Chattahoochee Nature Center. Remember to like and subscribe to Your Place on the River wherever you get your podcast. Visit chatnaturecenter.org to stay updated on all happenings at the Nature Center.